My name is Doris, and I have been married to Brian for 4 years. I work as a chef at a nearby restaurant, a job I deeply love. Cooking has been my passion since childhood, and I dream of becoming a renowned chef one day. Brian is employed as a sales manager at a small firm. Overall, our life together is quite fulfilling. Like any couple, we experience our fair share of challenges, but we've always managed to navigate through them. However, there's one persistent issue that troubles me. Brian's mother, Judy. Judy works as a social worker, focusing on child safety assessments for the local government. From the beginning, Judy has made it quite clear that she disapproves of me. Nothing I do seems to meet her standards, and she constantly finds reasons to criticize me, be it my culinary skills, my appearance, or even trivial things like how I breathe. It's been incredibly draining. What makes it worse is Brian's reluctance to defend me. He remains silent while his mother criticizes me, which is disheartening. One evening, while we were relaxing in our living room after dinner with the television humming in the background, I decided it was time to address the issue. "Brian," I began, attempting to maintain a composed tone, "don't you think your mom is a bit harsh sometimes?" Brian's expression turned stern as he replied, "Look, Doris, you don't understand. Mom has always been this way. After Dad left, she raised my brother and me on her own. She had to be strict." He continued, "She used to tell us that if we misbehaved, she'd give us away to other parents. It scared us, but it kept us in line." I was shocked by his acceptance of her extreme methods. "That's terrible, Brian. You know that's not normal, right?" He shrugged, indicating resignation. "It's just how things were. Mom did her best." It was clear then that changing Brian's view on this was unlikely. His mother's influence was deeply ingrained. Adding to the complexity was the constant comparison to Marilyn, my sister-in-law, who was married to Brian's elder brother, Gerald. In Judy's eyes, Marilyn was flawless, intelligent, skilled, beautiful, and always well-behaved, the epitome of a perfect daughter-in-law, unlike me. "Oh, Doris," Judy would say during family gatherings, "did you hear about Marilyn's latest promotion at work? Isn't that wonderful?" I'd force a smile, my frustration mounting. "That's great, Marilyn." "Congratulations," I'd say, while Marilyn humbly accepted the praise. The hardest part of these gatherings was not just the comparisons, but also Judy's obsession with grandchildren. She constantly prodded us about starting a family. "So, Doris," she would begin, her gaze piercing, "when are you and Brian planning to start a family? You're not getting any younger, you know." I'd take a deep breath, striving to remain calm. "We're focusing on our careers right now, Judy. Children will come when we're ready." Judy would dismissively retort, "Career? Cooking isn't a career, dear. It's a hobby. A real woman knows her place is at home, raising children." Each word from her was like fuel to a fire within me, a reminder of the battle I faced within my own family. But I kept my calm, knowing that arguing wouldn't change anything. Brian, as usual, remained silent, aimlessly pushing food around on his plate. Interestingly, Judy never pestered Marilyn about having children. One day, Brian inadvertently revealed that Gerald, his brother, was infertile, a closely guarded family secret. Judy would prefer to have no grandchildren at all than admit that her beloved firstborn had any shortcomings. Over time, Judy's control over her sons intensified. She demanded their help with everything, a burden that also fell on the daughters-in-law. Gerald and Marilyn, living close by, managed to meet Judy's demands more easily. In contrast, Brian and I, living farther away and working long hours, couldn't visit as often as Judy would have liked, and she never hesitated to express her displeasure. "I might as well be dead for all you two care," she would dramatize over the phone. "My son and his wife are too busy to visit their poor widowed mother." I'd roll my eyes, having heard this guilt trip so many times I could recite it by heart. "Sorry, Judy," I'd reply, not feeling sorry in the slightest. "We'll try to visit more often." But it was never enough. In Judy's eyes, we should be at her beck and call 24/7, and naturally, she blamed me for keeping Brian away from his family duties. As the months passed, I immersed myself deeper into my work. The kitchen became my refuge, The only place I felt genuinely appreciated and respected. Chef Justin, my mentor, encouraged me to hone my skills and creativity. "You have a gift, Doris," he'd say, tasting one of my dishes. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." His encouragement was a soothing balm to my worn-down self-esteem. In the kitchen, I wasn't the disappointing daughter-in-law or the wife failing to provide grandchildren. I was Doris, the talented chef with a promising future. The day everything began to unravel was just another busy day. I was prepping for the dinner rush when my phone buzzed. It was Judy. I sighed internally but answered. "Hello, Judy. What can I do for you?" Her voice came through, sharp and demanding. "Doris, I need you to come to the mall and pick me up. Marilyn and I have been shopping, and we have too many bags for a taxi." I glanced at the clock. It was peak traffic time, and the mall was on the other side of town. "Judy, I'm at work. I can't just leave." But she cut me off. "Oh, so your job is more important than family, I see. I suppose I'll just have to struggle with all these bags myself. At my age, I could throw my back out, but don't you worry about that." I closed my eyes, counting to 12 in my head. "Fine, Judy. I'll be there as soon as I can." The traffic was a nightmare. I sat in gridlock for over an hour, my frustration building with every minute. By the time I finally reached the mall, I was incredibly stressed and irritable. I circled the parking lot, searching for Judy and Marilyn, but they were nowhere to be seen. I called Judy's phone, no answer. I tried Marilyn, nothing. After my third attempt, Judy picked up. "Where are you?" I asked, trying to keep the annoyance out of my voice. "Oh, Doris," Judy replied, her tone oozing with feigned sweetness. "We got tired of waiting, so we took a taxi home." "I thought Marilyn had texted you," she said before I could even respond. And with that, she hung up. I sat in my car, staring at my phone in disbelief. Then I screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw, releasing all the frustration and anger I'd suppressed over the years. When I got home, Brian was already there. Still seething from the day's events, I burst in and blurted out, "Your mother," but Brian interrupted me. I know. Mom told me what happened. Why didn't you get there faster? She had to take a taxi because of you?" I stared at him, dumbfounded. "Are you kidding me? I left work early and sat in traffic for hours, and this is my fault." Brian just shrugged. "You know how Mom is with waiting. You should have planned better." The following weeks were a blur of work and tense silences. Brian and I barely spoke, the rift between us widening with each day. Then one evening, as I was closing up the kitchen, my phone rang. It was Judy. Tempted to ignore it, I answered anyway, bracing myself. "Hello, Judy." "Doris, dear," she began, her voice dripping with feigned sweetness. "I need you to do me a favor. It's Marilyn's birthday tomorrow. I'm throwing her a small party at my house. I need you to deliver food from your restaurant. Only the most expensive dishes, mind you, for 9 people. I felt my blood pressure rise. "Judy, that's going to be extremely expensive. I can't just—" "Oh, don't be so stingy," she interrupted. "It's for family, and of course, you'll be paying for it. Consider it your gift to Marilyn." I nearly dropped the phone. "You want me to pay for a gourmet meal for 9 people, Judy? That's insane. I can't afford that." She clucked disapprovingly. "Well, if you're going to be difficult about it, I suppose you could always cook the meal yourself and bring it over. That's what a real chef would do, isn't it?" I closed my eyes, counting to 12 in my head. "Judy, I work full-time. I don't have the energy to cook a gourmet meal for 9 people after full shift." "I see," she said, her voice turning cold. "Well, I'll let Brian know how little you care about his family." And with that, she hung up. Standing there, phone in hand, I felt a mixture of rage and disbelief. When I got home, Brian was waiting, his expression stormy. "Mom called," he said bluntly. "Why are you being so difficult about Marilyn's birthday? Mom's right. You don't care about anyone but yourself." In the end, I caved. I couldn't face another argument, another night of cold silence. The next day, I reluctantly placed the order at the restaurant, wincing as I handed over my credit card. It was a huge chunk of my savings, but I felt I had no choice. The evening of the party, Brian and I arrived at Judy's house. I was exhausted from a long day at work, but I managed to smile as we entered. Judy greeted us at the door, all smiles for Brian and barely acknowledging me. "Oh, you're here. Come in, come in." Everyone's already started eating. We walked into the dining room, and I stopped short. The table was laden with food, but it wasn't the dishes I had ordered from the restaurant. Instead, there was an array of homemade dishes that looked considerably less sophisticated. I stood there, bewildered, as I asked, "What's going on? Where's the food from the restaurant?" Marilyn, looking smug, glanced up from her plate. "Oh, didn't Mom tell you? I decided I wanted to cook for my birthday. Isn't that right, Mom?" Judy beamed at her, nodding. "Yes, and everything is just delicious." Marilyn's such a talented cook. Speechless, I felt Brian nudge me, urging, "Come on, let's sit down. Don't make a scene." Numbly, I took my seat while Brian engaged happily with everyone, seemingly unaware of my discomfort. Throughout the evening, I caught Judy glancing at me with a satisfied smirk on her face. By the time we left, I felt utterly emotionally drained. In the car on the way home, I turned to Brian. "Did you know about this? That Marilyn was going to cook?" He shrugged. "Mom might have mentioned it." "What's the big deal?" I was stunned. "The big deal is that I spent a fortune on food that's now going to waste, Brian. And your mother knew that when she asked me to order it." He dismissed my concerns. "You're overreacting. It was just a misunderstanding." But I knew it was no misunderstanding. It was another of Judy's calculated moves, another power play, and once again, I was on the losing end. The tension at home grew unbearable over the next couple of months. Brian and I barely spoke, and when we did, it usually ended in an argument. I threw myself into my work at the restaurant with desperate energy. One evening, after a long shift, Brian approached me, surprisingly excited. "Doris," he said, his eyes shining, "I need your help with something important." Curious despite myself, I raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" "It's Mom's birthday next month," he explained, "and I want to do something really special for her. Something that'll outshine Gerald's gift. Got any ideas?" I was about to dismiss the idea when suddenly an opportunity came to mind. I recalled Chef Justin mentioning an upcoming event at the restaurant. "Actually," I began slowly, "on your mom's birthday, there's going to be a special event at the restaurant. They're filming an episode of that cooking show she loves. You know, the one with that presenter she adores." Brian's eyes widened. "No way. Are you serious?" I nodded, feeling a spark of excitement despite myself. "Yeah, we could book a table for that night. If we're lucky, we might even get to be part of the filming. It's happening just next to the main dining area." Brian's face lit up. "Doris, that's perfect. Mom would absolutely love that. She's always wanted to meet that presenter." For a moment, I felt a warm glow of satisfaction. It was nice to see Brian so happy and to be the source of that happiness for once. "We should keep it a surprise," I suggested, getting caught up in the moment. "Can you imagine her face when she realizes where she is and what's happening?" Brian nodded enthusiastically. "Absolutely. We'll keep it completely under wraps. She won't suspect a thing." We spent the next hour planning the details. I would book the table and handle everything at the restaurant, while Brian would ensure Judy arrived without spoiling the surprise. The next day, I spoke to Chef Justin about the reservation and explained the situation. He was more than happy to assist, even offering us one of the best tables in the house. The day of Judy's birthday arrived, and I woke up feeling a mixture of excitement and anticipation. As I prepared to leave for the evening, Brian approached me, his expression unreadable. "I'll pick up Mom myself," he declared, avoiding my gaze. "You can head to the restaurant first. We'll meet you there." His abrupt suggestion took me by surprise, but I agreed and asked when I should arrive. "Just be there at the reservation time," he replied hastily, leaving much earlier than necessary. I assumed he had some last-minute errands. When I reached the restaurant at the designated time, my heart dropped. Through the window, I saw that the dining room was bustling. Our family and several guests were already gathered at the largest table, immersed in lively conversation. It seemed they had been enjoying themselves for quite some time. I walked in hesitantly, noticing that my usual seat next to Brian was taken by one of Judy's friends. Standing there, I felt invisible. "Hello, everyone," I managed to say, my voice shaky. The group barely acknowledged me, absorbed in their talks. Judy was the only one who looked my way, giving me a smug smile before turning back to her conversation. I felt a knot in my stomach as I approached Brian, filled with confusion and hurt. "What's happening?" I asked quietly. Brian turned to me, his face a mix of guilt and defiance. "Doris, we just wanted a peaceful celebration for Mom's birthday, without any drama," he explained. Judy interjected with a saccharine tone. "Oh, Doris, didn't Brian tell you? We thought a small family gathering would be best, just the essential people." Her words stung, and I felt my cheeks flush with humiliation. As if on cue, a camera crew in the corner continued filming. Unfazed, Judy went on. "It's probably for the best that you haven't had kids, Doris. If you did, I'd ensure they were taken away and given to someone more capable like Marilyn here." She gestured to Brian's sister-in-law, who laughed and nodded. The guests seemed to agree with Judy, nodding and exchanging looks of mockery as she disparaged my ability to balance a career and a family. I stood frozen, overwhelmed by the cruelty of her words. Finally, I whispered, "I'm not hungry," and turned to leave. Laughter erupted behind me, echoing hauntingly as I exited the restaurant. Back home, the night's events replayed in my mind. Without thinking, I began packing a suitcase. I couldn't stay any longer. Just as I zipped it closed, my phone rang. It was Frank, the restaurant manager. Hesitantly, I answered. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me, and I answered the phone. Frank's voice came through urgently. "You should see what's happening on the social media page of that cooking show that was filmed at the restaurant today," he said. With a sense of dread mixed with curiosity, I opened my laptop and navigated to the page. What I found left me stunned. There, displayed prominently, was a video of Judy, but not the composed Judy everyone was used to. This video showed Judy at her worst, venomously boasting about how she manipulated her position to wrongly separate children from their families. The video was viral, with hundreds of thousands of views, and the comments were ablaze with outrage. "She should be fired immediately," one read. "How can someone so cruel be allowed to work with children?" Another commented, "Poor Doris, dealing with such a monster-in-law." Before I fully realized what I was doing, I was back in my car, speeding towards the restaurant. Bursting through the doors, my heart raced as I spotted Judy, still there, laughing with the show's host. Her smile faltered into a scowl as she saw me. "Why are you back?" she snapped, annoyance clear in her voice. "Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough tonight?" Wordlessly, I held up my phone, showing her the incriminating video. Watching her face lose color was strangely satisfying as she listened to her own harsh words echoing back at her. "What is this?" she gasped, then turned to the presenter, her voice rising in panic. "You must take this down now." "I'll sue." The presenter chuckled. "I could take it down, but it's already been shared thousands of times. You're viral, Judy. Congratulations on your newfound fame." Enraged, Judy began smashing plates from the table to the floor, screaming threats. "I'll ruin all of you." The presenter remained calm, glancing at the camera. "I wouldn't do that if I were you. We're still live. Your tantrum is broadcasting nationwide." Judy stopped, her face a mask of horror. Around her, the other guests sat in stunned silence, as if wishing to disappear. Frank approached, his expression stern. "I'm going to have to ask you all to leave," he told Judy and her group, "or I'll call the police." As Judy and her entourage vanished into the night, the presenter turned to me, offering a sympathetic smile. "Doris, isn't it? Would you mind sharing your story on camera? I think our viewers would love to hear your side." I paused, then nodded. As the camera focused on me, I took a deep breath. This was my moment to set the record straight, to reclaim my narrative. In the days that followed, the fallout from Judy's public breakdown was swift and brutal. She was fired from her job in disgrace, her years of manipulation catching up to her. The power she had wielded so destructively was stripped away, along with any respect she had commanded. Meanwhile, I took decisive action. The very next day, I filed for divorce. Brian came to me, remorseful and tearful, begging for forgiveness. "Doris, please," he pleaded, "I made a terrible mistake. We can fix this." I promised to stand up to her, to be better. Looking at him, I felt a mix of pity and determination. "It's too late, Brian. You had years to stand by me, to really be my partner." After choosing his mother over me consistently, the divorce unfolded more swiftly than I had expected. We had little to dispute over, and Brian, possibly driven by remorse, didn't challenge any part of the process. Thus, for years of marriage evaporated into a mere signature on a document. But as this chapter ended, an unexpected new one began to unfold in ways I hadn't foreseen. Chef Justin, a week after the upheaval at the restaurant, approached me with a warm, enthusiastic smile. "Doris," he began, "I have some exciting news. The owner was really impressed with how you handled everything. We want to offer you the position of head chef at our new downtown location." This was just the beginning. Television producers soon began calling, initially inviting me to cook on their shows, but quickly expanding the invitations to include discussions about my experiences, emphasizing themes like self-respect and the significance of familial bonds. Inspired by these opportunities, I started a YouTube channel where I shared recipes intertwined with life advice. The comments section burgeoned with gratitude from viewers who found strength in my words, fueling their journeys to self-advocacy. The impact was profound and far-reaching. One morning, my agent, yes, I now had one, brought another thrilling opportunity: offers to host my cable TV show. The notion was almost surreal. My TV show was something I had never dared to dream of. Regarding my former in-laws, the grapevine buzzed with news. Judy's grip over her sons was diminishing. Marilyn, my former sister-in-law and once Judy's favored, now openly expressed disdain for her. It's intriguing how quickly perceptions change once someone's true colors are revealed. People often asked if I harbored any regrets or felt sympathy for them. Honestly, I didn't. They had made their choices just as I had made mine. The key difference was that I could face myself in the mirror each morning and feel genuinely proud of who I had become, living a life defined by integrity and empowerment.